Well, let's work on the next one, which will be our damage state type. So we'll go to the plus button. Let's go to our tile set default down to should be damage spikes right there. So on this one, notice one of the things is that this is basically saying it's going to go up and down. You have a start, you have a idle on and an idle off state for it. And then there is a random turning on and off. Those are going to be the basic setups for a damage type. Think of it, this can be used, make sure you have your animation on and select the folder. This can be used for a lot of different type of tiles. If you wanted a laser that was having 2 points and laser shooting in between, and yet your player has to run across before getting hurt. Anything that would require a pattern system to it. If you wanted it to be where it's like it's on for 2 seconds, off for 1, back on for 2 seconds, you're going to want to use the damage state tile type. This is going to allow you to do that type of a setup for it. Alright, so we have the damage tile selected. We've clicked on our tile type. Our tile name, let's go ahead and just name this one for it. We're going to say damage spikes. Alright, and then we'll just do what the description of it is basically saying it's going to be a random pattern. Randomly, we'll say random here. Random pattern to apply damage. Alright. General settings. I'm going to turn off the receive light just because this animation plays differently each time. So the collider would actually still be up, or it could be if you were playing it where it was multiple levels of height. So we'll go ahead and turn this one off for that part. The image offset, I'm actually going to put this one, if the player is running into it, it's kind of your choice. Do you want to go in front of the player or do you want to go behind the player? I'm actually going to say that if the player runs into it, I'm going to do it behind the player, and so you'll still see the player in front. For animation frames, let's go ahead and drop this one just down. We'll do a good number is probably about 8 for this. I'm going to go in and choose my thumbnail. Alright, and then the collider and all of these, we're going to be setting this up in the actual damage tile state. So what we can do is that if we want to say by default it starts turned off, you could just say turn off right there. Alright, so let's close that out. We're going to go down. The tile animation is all going to be part of the damage tile, so we won't need to use any of these. The tile audio, don't worry about. The tile trigger settings, we're going to go ahead and enable it so that this is going to be the thing that checks for whether or not the player has run into it or not. So if we go down to the health, what we could do is actually say that yes, health is an option, meaning that maybe the player could actually shoot it or destroy them. The hit point settings we're going to enable. Now this is going to apply damage as well. For this one, just in terms of generic, we're just going to say it's a physical attack. So we'll say that each time you hit it, it applies 10 point damage to the player if the player doesn't have any physical attributes to keep him from being hurt. Alright, and then on the hit point trigger, all the default stuff, this kind of depends on where you want to be checking. So if the spike, for instance, is this low, do you want to actually say it's checking all the way up here, or do you want to say it's checking only at its height? So those are going to be points that you're going to want to kind of look into in terms of the image you're working with and how you want to approach it on that part. I'm going to say that the top scale is actually going to be about 2 or 3. So in other words, so halfway through the image, we're going up about 2 or 3, which takes us right about to there. You could also scale it in a little bit if you feel like you want to make it a little bit smaller. Alright, so that's going to be the hurt trigger point. So on the hurt color flashing, let's go ahead and go to this. And instead of doing the time like where it takes really long, let's do an immediate. We'll just say it's going to flash really quick for 1/10 of a second. And then for the fade back, let's do a 2. And the number of times flashing, we could actually say it flashes a little bit longer so that it takes a while. This is going to be if you're applying damage to it. Alright, and then for the hurt color, we'll just have it flash white for it. So just the default setting on that part. So that's going to finish off all of the basic parts for the damage tile in terms of the general settings. When we get down here, we'll actually have our setup for animations and audio and hit points for specifically for the damage tile, and we'll do that one in the next video.